shall now start. The first lesson or the second quarter opens us to the idea that terms will be encountered in our academic journey or academic life. In fact, not just perhaps within our journey in our academic journey, but maybe as we go through our practice of our respective professions, it might come to a point where these terms really have to be brought into a level of understanding. Corinne has opened her camera and she's amazed of seeing herself in a circular frame. Again, it couldn't really be helped, but the terms that we encounter should really be brought into words which are understandable to us and also to the people around us, perhaps to our workmates, to our colleagues. And so we have to define terms. And defining terms could be done in at least two ways. The module tells us of these two ways, and these are the technical definition and the operational definition. A technical definition is one that's provided generally by an expert. So not everybody can just give a technical definition. It's not a definition that is made exclusive to the public in terms of construction. There needs to be a good source, there needs to be a good authority that should provide that technical definition of a concept or a term. Well, you can of course let yourself define it, but the question is, are you the right person to provide the clear definition or concept, the clear idea behind the concept? For example, gravity. For sure, the term gravity is not unfamiliar to us. We've encountered the term several times. We've seen how it is played out in many of our science lessons. But if we define gravity just on our own, what we are giving there is just a definition based on what we have understood of the concept. Even if you are going to read it from a textbook, the definition you're giving is not yours. It's a definition that comes from the textbook. And the textbook has provided the technical definition of gravity. No matter no matter what definition it is that you memorize, take note, you memorize, the authority that has provided that memorized definition is the one who gave the technical aspect of the same definition. It's not you, because you did not make the term, you did not come up with a term, and in the first place, you're not an expert of the field where that term becomes applicable to. So in that case, we always trace it to whosoever that expert is, whosoever that authority is that gave the definition. Sometimes these technical definitions appear to be abstract. They appear to be plainly theoretical or conceptual, because, as again, they are not as specific perhaps in terms of how these terms are actually used. And going into it, that's now the concern of an operational definition. Operational definitions expect you to understand the term based on how a term is measured, applied, or used in particular contexts or situations. So we don't really need an expert for this. We don't really need an expert to give us the operational definition of a concept or a term. All that you just need to keep in mind is there is a particular way by which the term is used. There is a particular purpose for the usage of the term. There is a situation where the term has come to be applied, and I'll get that definition in the application of the term, in the use of the term. Take, for instance, academic performance. Academic performance. I've learned the term in college. Like, aside from calling it a grade, when I was in college, I learned that there's a better term for the kind of performance that you get after having been evaluated in the field of the academe. So then comes the term academic performance. Academic performance, of course, has a technical definition. It does. If you browse online, you'll find that there are plenty of authorities that define academic performance. And these definitions are technical in nature. Technical because in the first place, They came from experts. They came from authorities. However, when I did my research in college, I did not subscribe all alone to the technical definition. Because if I use the technical definition of academic performance, that would come out to be very difficult to measure. It is very difficult to measure. So I went to defining academic performance based on how it comes out to be applicable in my research. And what is my measurement of academic performance? I identified it as one that is based on the grade in a particular term or period within a semester. So that's how I played out with the term. That's how I measured it. That's how I applied the term in my research. That's how the term became useful in my research. Sir, is your definition the only definition for academic performance? For sure, the answer is no. We could approach academic performance in varying perspectives, in varying angles. It depends on how the term is used in your context or in the situation you are seeing it. Just a few years ago, there are many researchers here in IA that talks of academic performance. Think of it this way. One research talked of academic performance during the with a grade in reference to the third quarter. Came another group that had a research making use of academic performance with a grade on the second quarter. Another group came with a grade which comes out as the average of the first and second quarters. See, at least 3 researchers did not have the same angle for academic performance. And why did that push through? Why did it get pushed through? Because they're defining academic performance operationally, based on how the term is played out in their respective researches. Any question regarding technical and operational definition? When you do your researches soon, we shall try to do it that way. We shall, if possible, we give a technical definition to be followed by an operational definition. A technical definition, again, is a definition based on how an expert sees a term, then to be followed by how you researchers make use of the term in your research soon when you proceed to grade 11. Especially that if you plan to take your grade 11 years here and 12 year grade 11 and 12 years here in IA, we'll soon see each other in research. Any question? Any question regarding technical and operational definitions? Any question? Because if there's none, let's proceed. Shall we proceed with mythology now? Here's how mythology works. Our discussion of mythology will, of course, trace the story back to the story of creation. Because mythology has its own version of creation. You could even find it on this is page 65 of the PDF file. Vem, do you have the same book, Vem? I noticed that you kind of have the same book. I'll move on page 65, then I'll go back to 12 Olympians or 12 gods or Olympians. If you have this book, if you have this one, you can again go along as I'm reading or picking out important points from this book. The story of creation according to mythology. By the way, do not be surprised if from time to time names will be shifted. We are going to look at Roman names, Greek names, or Latin names. Well, more or less, we'll do some processing on who we are referring to. The story of creation, according to mythology, began with the existence of chaos. It so happened that out of nothingness came chaos. Like chaos came out. Chaos is defined as a vast, immeasurable abyss. It seemed to be an outrageous sea, which is dark, wasteful, and wild. Again, that makes it very chaotic. And I think this is probably our reference for the word chaos. This is our allegory for the use of the word chaos. Like whenever you say our class is very chaotic, you could trace it to the mythological use of the word chaos. That it is wasteful, it is wild, it is dark, and it's immeasurable, and it's an abyss, an outrageous abyss. From chaos came out two children. Who were the children of chaos? You have Night and Erebus. Two children were born. Two children were born to this shapeless nothingness. Shapeless nothingness was chaos. Night was the first one, and the other was Erebus, which is the unfathomable depth where death dwells. Again, Erebus was the unfathomable depth, unfathomable depth where death dwells. And from darkness and from death came out love. So look at the process, look at what happened. Chaos first, then from chaos came Night and Erebus. Erebus is spelled as Erebus. Then from darkness and death, darkness, night, death, that's the death is dwelling in Erebus, came out love. Love was the one who had provided order and beauty, and it banished blind confusion. Love created, from love came out light, and together with light was day. By the way, when I mentioned these important words, night, Erebus, love, light, and day are all proper nouns. Take note, they are all proper nouns. Many historians, especially Greek historians, referred to these entities as shapeless entities. Not in some accounts, they are not also taken as totally shapeless. It's as if they have also been personified into divinities that carried on these names. So once again, we have the name of love. Love gave birth to light, and together with light was radiant day, or you can just call it day. When all of these had been created, came the earth. And what went together with the earth was heaven. Please take note of that. What came together with the earth was heaven. Earth was the solid ground, while heaven was the blue vault in the sky, or the blue vault on high. So there came to be like two polarities. The ground, which was for the earth, heaven, which was for the sky. And then Mother Earth, or Earth, was named as Gaia, Gaea, while Father, take note of Mother Earth, Father Heaven was named Uranus. These two had children. The both of them not the both of them. They gave to some children. The first children were referred to as monsters. Generally, the children that they had were referred to as monsters. Out of these monsters, no, actually, before I go into that, these monsters were referred to as somewhat like men. They looked like they are humans, yet they're not completely humans. They're unhuman. Men, yet unhuman. They seem to possess the characteristics of what makes a person a human being, yet something is imperfect in them, making them still completely not human. Out of the many monsters, 3 were referred to as monsters with 100 hands and 50 heads. So again, 3 monsters had 100 hands and 50 heads. Three other monsters were referred to as cyclopes. Monsters, like from our common knowledge of what cyclops are, monsters with only one eye, and that they are also gigantic. The monsters with 100 hands and 50 heads were also gigantic beings. Other sets of monsters were referred to as the Titans. Yes, the Titans themselves were also referred to as monsters. So those were the three categories of monsters. The 100-handed monsters with 50 heads. Though there were only 3 of them. But you can just imagine how strong that those monsters are. Given that they have 100 hands plus 50 heads. That's one group. Another group of monsters, you have the Cyclops. Another group of monsters, the third batch, the Titans. Then came that point when Uranus, Father Heaven, seemed to dislike the presence of those monsters with 100 hands. To his eyes, those monsters with 100 hands and 50 heads seem not to be in the right place here on earth. So what did he do? He imprisoned them. As he hated those monsters, he imprisoned them in a secret place on earth, and has allowed for the Titans and the Cyclops to continue their dwelling here on earth. He did so because to him, though they are gigantic, the Titans and the Cyclops seemed like regular beings, except that the Cyclops had only one eye. This decision did not please Mother Earth or Gaia. So, it led to a time when there came to be a conflict because Mother Gaia talked it out with the Titans and the Cyclops regarding her feeling of displeasure as to the decision, regarding the decision of Father Heaven, of Uranus. So, there came an uprising by the Titans and the Cyclops against Uranus. In that uprising, the Titans, especially one among them, led the leader among them, Cronus. By the way, the spelling of Cronus is Cronus. This is not to be confused with the god. Hello? Hello? The Titan Cronus, whose name is spelled as Cronus, is not to be confused with the god Chronos. Chronos. Chronos is the god of time. Hala, wala ko internet. Wala ko internet, sir. Wala ko internet. Hello, grade 10. There. The god of time is known as Cronus, but his name is spelled with an H. It's Chronos. This one, the Titan's name is spelled as Cronus. There are also others which make use of the letter K. It's fine. So the leader of the Titans, together with the other Titans and the Cyclops, had an uprising against Father Uranus, or Father Heaven. Father Heaven was eventually wounded, and from his blood sprung out the fourth set of monsters known as giants. So the giants came out from the blood.
So by the looks of our numerator, we have to copy it, but in our denominator is where we really have to apply the factoring. If the numerator can be factored, factor, then go. At least if you can find a common factor, then eliminate the common. So we have the denominator x squared minus x minus 6. If we factor this binomial, and the denominator. Here's two factors, x minus 3 and x plus 2. Since both of them are unique, we just have to copy paste them. But with your denominator here, we have x plus 3
There.
and x minus 3. However,
Oh no.
when you look at the x minus 3 plus, it's already written as the factor of your first fraction. Therefore, as we need to only write it once, we'll have to have only our LCD being x plus 3, x minus 3, and x plus 2.
There.
This expression divides by this expression.
The last thing that I mentioned was that
Cancel.
giants came out from the blood of heaven, Mother Heaven or Uranus.
And then,
Together with the giants were Furies, other sets of mythological creatures, Furies. And that actually was an indicator of the success of ousting Father Heaven, and then the Titans ruled the earth. The Titans came to have ruled the earth, and then for some reason, the leader of the Titans, Kronos, felt the need to eliminate his children. Why? Long was it foretold to him that sooner or later, by the way, Kronos also had a relationship with one of the Titans, Rhea, his sister Rhea. They had children. The children of Rhea and Kronos, the Titan Kronos, were the gods, the Olympian gods that we are going to have later on. Long was it foretold as well that sooner or later, Kronos will be overthrown by one of his children. So what did he do? He told, no, not that he told. He started swallowing in whole his children. But nothing was said that he chewed on them, but I think he did that because they're just kept inside him. Like they're placed inside him. So they were stored inside him. Only to find out that Rhea all along was not amenable to this. Not that Rhea wanted Kronos to be overthrown, but Rhea just disliked the thought of the children being taken and digested by Kronos. So, as Kronos did it one by one to his children, Rhea decided to hide one of her sons in Crete. Zeus was that son. So Rhea hid Zeus in Crete and took a piece of rock and wrapped it in a piece of cloth, the same cloth that was usually used to wrap the body of the baby Zeus. So when Kronos picked it up, seeing that it was wrapped in the same cloth that was used to wrap the body of Zeus, in his mind, of course, he thought that it was the baby Zeus. And as it turns out, Zeus grew up in Crete. He did. Until such time that he has reached that age of where he felt that he would be strong enough to go against his father. That uprising is really bound to happen. Kronos, in fact, managed to do so as he also released. He managed to indeed overthrow his father as he released the monsters with 100 hands from their imprisonment. For a while. the rain. So Zeus managed to successfully overthrow the Titans, especially his father, because he was also being helped by the monsters with 100 hands. Though there were only three of them, though there were only three of them, these monsters are masters of thunder, lightning, and earthquake. So we can simply say that the ability of Zeus to manipulate thunder and lightning was not originally his. It was an ability that was then mastered first by, or not mastered, possessed first by those monsters with 100 hands and 50 heads. Again, there were only three of them, but you can just imagine how powerful they are, that they really are powerful monsters. Perhaps, I don't know, nothing was accounted here, but perhaps that's one possible reason why Uranus imprisoned the three of them. Because of the powers that the three of them have, though there are only three. So, when this happened, Zeus was able to free his siblings, his brothers and sisters, from the belly of Kronos. Yes. So now it's not just Zeus and the monsters, but it's Zeus, the monsters, and the other Olympians against the Titans. So Zeus now has more on his side, and to cut the story short, they successfully overthrew the Titans. They were punished. Many of them were punished. Many of them were banished. Take, for instance, Atlas was punished by making him carry the weight of the world upon his shoulders. The Titans themselves had one final hope of defeating the Olympians. And it is when the earth gave rise to the strongest Titan among them all. And it was Typhon. The name of Typhon is spelled as Typhon. That's Typhon, Typhon. Yes, Typhon may have been acknowledged as the strongest among the Titans, but Zeus himself is already counted to be very strong as an Olympian, as he has now gotten hold of the thunder and lightning powers, which also are possessed by the 100-handed monsters. With that power, with those monsters, with the other Olympians, Typhon was defeated. All in all, the Titans won. The Titans lost, the Olympians won. And so we now go to who these Olympians are. By the way, any question regarding the story, the creation part of the story? Any question? If you have a question, yes, Kim, it's Typhon, Typhon. That's correct. That's correct. That's the spelling of the name of the last Titan. The last Titan that was brought unto this world by Earth, and that, by the way, when Titan was brought unto this world, it's not that Gaia really wanted to give birth to. They really came out. They just came out from time to time. And then, despite the strength and powers of Typhon, he got outdone by the powers of Zeus, as well. Not to mention that the other Olympians are there, plus the presence of the 100-handed monsters. Also, it's important to consider that as Zeus did his uprising against the Titans, Zeus asked for Gaia, his grandmother, to be of assistance to him. Grandmother, meaning Mother Earth. Gaia was in assistance to Zeus when this story played out. In fact, There are also other members of the Titan family that helped Zeus. Prometheus was one of them.
Negative x
We'll go into the details later on of what made Prometheus help Zeus, because there's a different story for that. So for the meantime, we'll proceed with the different Olympians.
how else do we
The leader among the Olympians is Zeus, in Roman known as Jupiter.
you can simplify your numerator by making x
He is known as the ruler of the sky or the lord of the sky. He is the rain god or a cloud gatherer.
denominator.
But the question on why he got the skies for him was a product of a drawing of lots that the three of them did. Who are those other two? Poseidon and Hades. His brothers and he did a drawing of lots to determine who shall be ruling what. So as it turns out, Poseidon picked the sea, Hades picked the underworld, and the skies went to Zeus. It came out to be quite, I don't know, you all froze. Hello, grade 10? Hello?
4 over x minus 1 minus 3 over 1 minus x. If I am going to solve this directly, the answer would be 7 over atom fraction, because the total as that our fraction is a negative fraction. So negative times negative, or copy the or change the sign.
For some reasons, my internet connection here in the computer lab disappeared.
So it's just simply 4 over x minus 1 added with 3 over x minus 1. And that is why
it seemed to be quite perfect as well for Zeus to be ruling the skies, because he is a master of the thunderbolt and lightning. So more or less it was quite, maybe he was quite destined really to get the skies for his ruling. Zeus is seen to be a powerful being, but he's not all the while omnipotent or omniscient.
Lastly,
He is not, take note of that, he is not all-powerful, nor is he all-knowing. He's not omnipotent nor omniscient. There are several accounts of this. There are several stories of this. In fact, to prove that he's not omnipotent, his powers cannot overrule whatever are decided by the seas and the underworld. To prove that it's not omniscient, there has been a prophecy that Zeus is going to be dethroned by a son of his. Yet he does not know who that son is, who is bound or destined to dethrone him. So there are things that he does not know. As of this time, you might have noticed, no, there's like a chain that of a father being dethroned by a son. In the context of Greek mythology, that kind of situation has come out to be really true and consistent. A child dethroning a father. You look at Uranus. Uranus being dethroned by Kronos. And you look at Kronos being dethroned by Zeus. And Zeus is bound to be dethroned by one of his sons. The name is unknown to him. In fact, there's one individual that he punished. An individual with a gift of foresight was punished by Zeus, since this individual did not reveal the name of this son of Zeus who is going to dethrone him. So that's a proof that Zeus is not really all-knowing at all. Another weakness, another problem with Zeus is that he manifests himself in the human world to be able to copulate with mortals. Yes, I just have to be blunt with the word. To be able to copulate with mortals, to have sex with mortals. In general practice before, if there's an individual in the community who seemed too good, too perfect of an image and physique, the mortals at that time would right away associate that being to be a god or goddess. if there's a man or a woman that they see walking around, and that figure is, it would seem too perfect, too good looking, with a well-built physique, right away, mortals of then would think that that's a god appearing in human form, or a goddess appearing in human form. And ladies would not be right away so to see Zeus, or in seeing Zeus, ladies can perhaps prevent themselves from giving in. So Zeus had plenty of women under his name. And just to be honest, not just women. Yes, not only women, Zeus also had stories of being affiliated with men. I don't know. I don't know why he resorted into it, and I think I would not bother want to know. There are plenty of stories in mythology that talk of women being punished by Hera because of these women's relationship with Zeus. So you look at the doings of Zeus, the ones who suffered from them are the mortal women with whom he had a relationship, or copulated, with whom he had copulated with. There are also significant items to Zeus. Take for instance, his breastplate. It's like a breastplate is like an armor, or yeah, like an armor that you wear here in the chest part or breast part. He called it the Aegis, Aegis. I'm on page 27, by the way, of the book. Huh? He's also fond of manifesting himself as an eagle. So the eagle is a significant bird to Zeus. His tree being the oak. You also have there Hera, in Roman name known as Juno. Hera is the wife and sister of Zeus. So Hera was one of those who was devoured by Kronos. Hera is known to be the protector of married women. Despite it, his marriage with Zeus is a problematic one. The irony, that's quite the irony. He's the protector of married women and marriage itself. Yet he is in a relationship with someone who's not loyal to her her husband. But the only thing that Hera could do there is to punish. So far, in so many accounts, one thing that Hera did there was to punish those mortal women with whom Zeus had been in a relationship, or yeah, had been in a relationship with. It's quite unfortunate, in fact, for these women. Significant animals to Hera, you have the cow and the peacock. The Argos was also her favorite city. The Argos is the place where where heroes known as the Argonauts have come to be known. Another brother of Zeus is Poseidon, the god of the seas. Poseidon is also known for that particular item that he holds in his right hand, one that looks like a fork, and that's his trident. So that's one of the significant items known to Poseidon. He's known to be the god of the sea. He's also known as an earth shaker, and he is connected to bulls as well as to horses. Then we have Hades. I don't know, but I feel kind of bad for Hades, because in so many books, in so many what is this? In so many manifestations, Hades is seen to be a monster. No, like Hades is seen to be like Rick. I hope you have seen the cartoon show Hercules. That's a very old cartoon show now. Uh, I I Can Go the Distance was even its soundtrack. If you have seen it, recall how Hades is projected compared to the other gods and goddesses. Yeah? How does he look like? He doesn't have. He's not well dressed. He seems to be wearing like something black, and then his face has dark lines in the eyes. His eyes has dark lines. His teeth are not right, are not good, compared to the other gods and goddesses which shine so bright. I feel kind of bad for Hades because he's projected that way. Then came the movie Percy Jackson. Um, I think that's the first Percy Jackson movie when where they went to the underworld to get his mother, Percy's mother, and then came out a character known as Hades who looked like a Mac Jagger. I think that, though not perhaps the best, but I think that's a better projection of Hades. Someone who looks quite decent or an appealing guy. And I feel kind of bad why in so many books, in so many, what is this, in so many presentations, he's not made to appear well or appear good. Hades, in Roman name known as Pluto, is known as the god of wealth. He is the god of wealth. He's also known as the ruler of the underworld. But he is not the king of death. He may be known, please let's try to differentiate this. He may be known as the ruler of the underworld or the king of the dead, but he is not the ruler of death itself. Because the one who rules death is Thanatos in name. Thanatos. The one who is considered as the king of death is Thanatos and not Hades. Thanatos in Roman known as Orcus. In one story, in the many accounts in mythology, one story tells us that Hades took a woman for him. That woman was known as Persephone. Before I would read it as Persephone, but later on I realized it's read as Persephone. Or Proserpine, not Proserpine, it's Proserpine as well in Roman name. Let's go now to the children of Zeus. And children of Zeus. The first child of Zeus was a child without any mother at all. Pallas Athena, in Roman known as Minerva, came out from the head of Zeus. Like literally, she sprung up from the head of Zeus. So she is a daughter of Zeus alone. No mother has been associated to the birth of Athena. I don't know, but maybe this could be a probable reason why Zeus kind of favored her. She is in fact identified as the most favorite daughter, favorite child of Zeus. To the point that Zeus trusts her so much, she makes her carry the breastplate or the aegis for him. Athens is her special city. That's where the place of the name Athens is actually taken from the name of Pallas Athena. We generally just know her as Athena, but her complete name is Pallas Athena. Please take note of that. If you are asked for the complete name, it should be Pallas Athena and not just Athena. But of course, we generally know her as Athena. Okay, understand. But to give the complete name of the goddess, it's Pallas Athena. Her bird was the owl, and then the olive was her tree. In the story of Odysseus, in his quest back to Ithaca, Athena appeared in front of him as a figure, if not a figure, as an owl. An owl being a significant bird to Athena. The brother of Athena, but this one is a child of Zeus and a mother. So you have Leto as the wife of Zeus. Both had a child, had twins actually. The first one, the boy, is known as Phoebus Apollo, or who we commonly know or generally know as Apollo. Phoebus Apollo is considered to be the most Greek of all the gods. During their time, during the olden time, Greece had plenty of statues built or plenty of altars built for Apollo himself. Apollo was referred to as an archer god. He is also known as as a healer, the god of light, or the god of truth. Sometimes Apollo is being interchangeably referred to as Helios, but he is not. It's important to note that Apollo is different from Helios himself. Helios was the sun god. Take note of that. Apollo is not the sun god. So at least that sets a difference. But maybe because they have been projected as though both appear in flames. Apollo appears in flames because he is projecting himself as the god of light, the bearer of light, while Helios appears to be in flames because in the first place he is the sun god. From time to time, there may be books that try to associate these two, but at least now it's important that we know the difference. The twin of Apollo is known as Artemis, in Roman, Diana. Artemis was known to be the protector of the forests, goddess of the wild, a huntress herself. She is she is known as the Lady of Wild Things and the huntsman in chief to the gods, which is quite an odd office for a female character, for a goddess. She has considered all wild animals sacred to her, especially those that dwell in the woodlands or in the forest. Among many, one significant animal to her is the deer. The cypress was a tree also sacred to her. Another divine being is Aphrodite. Aphrodite in Roman known as Venus, considered as the goddess of love and beauty, or the goddess of love or the goddess of beauty. She is known to be the mother of the famous Cupid in the story of Cupid and Psyche. As it turns out, there's a kind of irony that Aphrodite had been associated with, and it is the fact that she is actually married to a lame god, lame and ugly god in reference. She is actually the wife of Hephaestus, who in Roman name is referred either by the names of Vulcan or Mulciber. So look at the irony there. The goddess of love and beauty being the wife of a lame and ugly god. Hephaestus himself being the god of fire or the god of the forge. We'll continue mentioning some significant names later at 4:30 to 5. See you this afternoon, grade 10. Goodbye and thank you.